The call came at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember because I was staring at the clock, counting the hours since Mark hadn't come home. When I picked up, expecting his voice with some tired excuse about overtime, I heard our son instead. Jake was crying, not the soft whimper of a scraped knee or the frustrated tears of a lost game. This was the kind of crying that comes from somewhere deep, somewhere broken. "Mom," he sobbed, his voice cracking in that way that makes every mother's heart stop. "Mom, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep lying for him." I sat up in bed, my hands already trembling. "Jake? Baby, what are you talking about? Where are you?" "I'm at the house. Dad's house. The other house." His words came out in gasps between sobs. "I've been coming here every other weekend for 6 months, Mom. He told me you knew. He said you were okay with it. But I saw the way you looked at him last week when he said he was going to the office. And I knew he was lying to you too." The room tilted. The ceiling fan above me spun in slow motion, and I could hear the hum of the refrigerator downstairs, the neighbor's dog barking 3 houses down, the sound of my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. 6 months. Our son had been carrying this secret for 6 months while I folded Mark's laundry, packed his lunches, and kissed him goodbye every morning like we were still the couple we'd been for 23 years. "What other house, Jake?" My voice didn't sound like mine. It was hollow, distant, like someone else was speaking through me. "In Lexington, the one with the red door. She's here, Mom. Ashley. She's pregnant." The phone slipped from my hand and hit the hardwood floor with a crack. I could still hear Jake crying, calling my name, but I couldn't move. I just sat there in our bedroom, the bedroom where Mark and I had made love 1,000 times, where we'd painted the walls seafoam green because he said it reminded him of our honeymoon in Charleston, where I'd nursed both our children when they were sick, and I felt everything I thought I knew disintegrate like ash in the wind. 23 years, 2 children, a mortgage, shared dreams, shared bank accounts, the man who held my hand during my mother's funeral, the man who cried when Jake was born, the man who swore on our wedding day in that little chapel in Savannah that he would love me until his last breath. That man had another house, another woman, another baby on the way. I picked up the phone with shaking hands. "Jake," I whispered, Come home right now." "Mom, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." He said, "It's not your fault, baby. None of this is your fault. Just come home." When he hung up, I stayed there in the darkness, listening to the silence of the house. This house that I'd made a home for 20 years. Every piece of furniture chosen with care. Every family photo on the wall telling a story I thought was real. The kitchen where I'd cooked thousands of meals. The backyard where we'd celebrated birthdays and anniversaries. The life I'd built with my own hands, brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice. And all of it had been a lie. I got out of bed and walked to the closet. Mark's side was full, his suits pressed, his shirts organized by color, his shoes lined up in neat rows. I'd done that. I'd pressed those shirts. I'd organized those shoes. I'd built this perfect little illusion while he was building something else entirely in Lexington, 30 miles away. The sound of Jake's car pulling into the driveway broke through my numbness. I ran down the stairs, my bare feet cold against the wood, and threw open the front door. My son stood there, my beautiful, sensitive boy who'd just turned 17, with tears streaming down his face. He fell into my arms, all 6 feet of him collapsing against me like he was 5 years old again. And we stood there on the porch crying together while the neighbor's lights stayed dark and the world kept spinning like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. "Tell me everything," I said, leading him inside. "Tell me every single thing you know." "My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I am 51 years old. I live in a 3-bedroom colonial in Marietta, Georgia, with a wraparound porch that I painted white every 3 years like clockwork. I am a high school English teacher at Marietta High School, where I've worked for 19 years, teaching teenagers about Shakespeare and Steinbeck and the power of words to change lives. I make $58,000 a year. Mark makes 6 times that as a senior partner at Henderson & Associates, a commercial real estate firm in Atlanta. I have 2 children, Jake, 17, a junior with a 4.0 GPA who wants to study environmental engineering at Georgia Tech, and Emma, 22, who just graduated from UGA and moved to Savannah to work at an art gallery. She looks just like me. Same auburn hair, same green eyes, same tendency to see the best in people even when they don't deserve it. I am the woman who wakes up at 5:30 a.m. every morning to make breakfast. Not because anyone asks me to, but because that's what I do. That's who I am. I make the coffee strong for Mark because he likes it that way. I pack Jake's lunch with the good turkey from the deli, not the processed kind, because he has a cross-country meet and needs protein. I iron Mark's shirts even though we could afford to send them to the dry cleaner because I know he prefers the way I do the collars. I am the woman who remembers everyone's birthdays, everyone's allergies, everyone's favorite meals. I know that Mark's mother likes yellow roses, not red, so that's what I send her every Mother's Day. I know that Emma can't eat dairy, so I learned to make vegan versions of all her childhood favorites. I know that Jake has nightmares before big tests, so I always check on him the night before and remind him that he's brilliant and capable and loved. I am the woman who gave up my dream of getting my master's degree because Mark's career was taking off and someone needed to be home with the kids. I am the woman who didn't go to my 20th high school reunion because Mark had a client dinner the same night and someone needed to stay with 10-year-old Jake and his ear infection. I am the woman who painted every room in this house myself, who planted every flower in the garden, who chose every piece of furniture with care and love, and the belief that I was building something permanent. I thought I was building a partnership. I thought we were a team. I met Mark at a coffee shop in Athens when I was 24 and he was 26. I was in graduate school, studying poetry, wearing a thrift store dress and too much eyeliner. He was in his last year of his MBA, wearing a polo shirt and khakis, looking like he'd walked out of a catalog. He bought me a coffee and asked about the book I was reading, Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar. We talked for 4 hours. He made me laugh. He listened when I talked about my dreams of teaching, of making a difference, of touching young lives with literature. He said I had a light in me that he wanted to protect. We got married 2 years later in Savannah, my hometown, in a small ceremony at the historic Forsyth Park. My mother cried. His parents gave us a check for $5,000 as a wedding gift. We honeymooned in Charleston, staying in a bed and breakfast with creaky floors and a view of the harbor. We made love on crisp white sheets and talked about our future, the house we'd buy, the children we'd have, the life we'd build together. I got pregnant with Emma 8 months later. Mark was thrilled. He painted the nursery himself, a soft lavender color, and assembled the crib while I sat in the rocking chair reading parenting books. He cried when she was born, kissed my forehead, and told me I was amazing. He said I'd given him the greatest gift in the world. 5 years later, Jake arrived. By then, Mark was working 70-hour weeks, climbing the corporate ladder. I'd left graduate school and taken the teaching job because we needed stability, health insurance, a schedule that would work with raising 2 kids. Mark promised it was temporary. He said once he made partner, things would slow down. He said we'd travel, we'd reconnect, we'd remember why we fell in love. He made partner 7 years ago. Things never slowed down, but I didn't complain. I adapted. I became the wife who didn't need attention, who didn't make demands, who kept the home fires burning while he conquered the world. I became invisible. And now, sitting across from Jake in our kitchen at 1 a.m., listening to him tell me about the house in Lexington with the red door, about Ashley who's 29 and works as a paralegal at Mark's firm, about the nursery they're setting up with gray walls and white furniture, I realized that I've been invisible for a very long time. The next morning, I did what I always do. I got up at 5:30. I made coffee. I made breakfast. I put on my navy blue dress with the pearl buttons and my comfortable flats. I brushed my hair and put on lipstick. I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger, a woman who was pretending everything was normal while her world crumbled. Mark came down at 6:15, already dressed in his gray suit, scrolling through his phone. "Morning," he said absently, pouring himself coffee. He didn't look at me. He never really looked at me anymore, I realized. When had that started? When had I become just part of the furniture, another fixture in the house he came home to? "Jake got home late last night," I said carefully, watching his face. His hand paused for just a fraction of a second on the coffee pot. "Oh, where was he?" "He said he was with you, at the house in Lexington." I kept my voice steady, calm, like I was discussing the weather. Mark's face went white, then red, then carefully blank, the face he used in negotiations, the face I'd seen him use with difficult clients. "Sarah," he started, setting down his mug. "I can explain. Can you?" I heard the edge in my voice, sharp as broken glass. Can you explain why our son has been lying for you for 6 months? Can you explain Ashley? Can you explain the baby?" He sat down heavily at the kitchen table, the table where we'd eaten thousands of meals as a family. I never meant for Jake to know. He showed up one day, and I panicked. I told him it was complicated, that you and I had an understanding. An understanding? My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. What understanding, Mark? The one where I teach high schoolers all day. Come home and cook your dinner, wash your clothes, raise your children, and pretend not to notice that you're fucking someone else. He flinched at the profanity. I never cursed. Good girls from Savannah didn't curse. "Keep your voice down," he said, glancing toward the stairs where Jake was presumably still sleeping. "Keep my voice down?" I laughed, and it sounded unhinged even to my own ears. "I think we're past that, don't you?" Mark ran his hand through his hair that was going gray at the temples, that I'd tenderly touched 1,000,000 times, that I'd run my fingers through just last week when we'd had sex. Routine sex, Wednesday night sex, the kind that happens when you've been married 23 years, and it's just another thing on the to-do list. Had he come from her bed to mine? Had he compared us? "It's not what you think," he said, and I wanted to scream because that's what they always say, isn't it? It's not what you think. As if I was stupid, as if I was crazy, as if my reality wasn't real. Then what is it, Mark? Enlighten me. Ashley she's different. She's young and exciting, and she doesn't need anything from me. She just likes being with me. She makes me feel alive again. Each word was a knife. Young, exciting, alive again. As if I had killed him somehow by aging, by being steady, by being the person who held everything together while he got to feel alive. "And the baby?" I whispered. "It wasn't planned, but Sarah, I'm going to be there for this child. I'm going to do it right this time. I'm going to be present, not working all the time like I was with Jake and Emma. This is my chance to what? To be the father you couldn't be to the children you already have?" The tears came then, hot and angry. "Do you hear yourself? You're going to abandon our family for a do-over? For a chance to play daddy with a woman young enough to be your daughter? I'm not abandoning anyone. I'll still support you and Jake financially. The house is in both our names. You can stay here. I'll make sure you're taken care of." "Taken care of?" I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "Like I'm some kind of obligation? Some dependent you need to maintain? That's not what I meant. Get out." My voice was quiet now, deadly calm. "Sarah, we need to talk about this like adults." "Get out!" I screamed it this time, and I heard footsteps upstairs. Jake waking up. "Get out of this house. Get out and go to your other life, your better life, your alive life. Go." Mark stood, grabbed his briefcase, and walked to the door. He paused, turned back. "I never meant to hurt you," he said softly. "But you did," I replied. "You did it anyway." The door closed behind him, and I collapsed onto the kitchen floor, my carefully applied lipstick smearing as I sobbed into my hands. Jake found me there 20 minutes later and held me while I cried. This boy who'd become a man overnight. This child who'd had to carry his father's secrets and watch his mother break. I met Mark's parents 3 months into our relationship. Harold and Patricia Wellesley Mitchell, both from old Connecticut money, both deeply disappointed that their only son had fallen for a small-town Southern girl with more education than pedigree. They came to Athens for dinner at Mark's tiny apartment, and I made chicken marsala and tiramisu from scratch because I wanted to impress them, wanted them to see that I was worthy of their son. Patricia barely touched her food. "You're quite young," she said, sipping her wine with the careful precision of someone who'd learned to make critiques sound like observations. "Mark tells us you're in graduate school? For poetry?" She said poetry the way someone might say finger painting. "Yes, ma'am. I'm studying the confessional poets, Plath, Sexton, Lowell. I'm interested in how they used personal trauma to create universal truths." "How therapeutic," Patricia replied with a tight smile. But Mark squeezed my hand under the table, and later, after his parents left, he pulled me into his arms and said, "You were perfect. They'll come around, and even if they don't, I don't care. I love you." I believed him. I believed that love could overcome anything. Class differences, parental disapproval, the gap between his privileged upbringing and my working-class roots. My father had been a mechanic in Savannah. My mother cleaned houses to help pay for my college. I was the first in my family to get a degree. Mark's world of country clubs and trust funds was foreign to me, but I learned. I learned which fork to use at fancy dinners. I learned to make small talk about golf and Martha's Vineyard. I learned to be the right kind of wife. When Emma was born, Patricia came to the hospital with a silver rattle from Tiffany's and a list of acceptable names. All family names, all waspy and proper. We'd planned to name her Emma Grace, after my grandmother. Emma is rather common, Patricia said, holding her granddaughter with the careful distance of someone handling fine china. What about Emmeline? Or Emmeline? Mark, exhausted from the 30-hour labor, said, Mom, we're naming her Emma. Sarah's been through hell. She gets to choose the name. It was one of the few times he stood up to his parents for me. I added it to my mental list of reasons to love him, reasons to stay, reasons to believe in us. I gave up graduate school 6 months later. Mark was working 70-hour weeks at a boutique real estate firm, trying to make a name for himself. Emma had colic and screamed for 4 hours every night. My mother was too far away to help regularly, and Patricia made it clear she hadn't raised her own children and wasn't about to start with grandchildren. I was drowning. Just take a semester off, Mark said one night as I cried from exhaustion, covered in spit-up, with a stack of unread poetry criticism on my nightstand. Get Emma settled, and then you can go back. 1 semester became 2, became 4, became never. I transferred my credits to a teaching certification program I could do part-time, online, while Emma napped. I graduated when she was 3. Mark threw me a small party and gave me a gold necklace with a tiny book pendant. For my brilliant wife, he said, kissing me in front of his parents, who smiled thinly and changed the subject. I told myself it was fine. I told myself that teaching was noble, that reaching teenagers was important, that I didn't need a PhD to matter. I told myself this while Patricia casually mentioned at family dinners that Mark's college girlfriend had gotten her doctorate in economics and was now teaching at Yale. Such a shame you two didn't work out, she'd say to Mark with a knowing smile. Though I suppose everything happens for a reason. When Jake was born 5 years later, I was 34 years old and felt ancient. The pregnancy was harder. I had gestational diabetes, severe back pain, and spent the last 2 months on bed rest. Mark was away on business trips 3 times during those months. His secretary sent flowers each time. I wondered even then if that was strange, if secretaries typically sent flowers to their bosses' pregnant wives, but I pushed the thought away. I was being paranoid, hormonal. Mark cried when Jake was born, just like he had with Emma. He held his son and said, I promise to be a better father this time. I promise to be here more. It was a promise he kept for maybe 6 months. Then the late nights started again, the weekend conferences, the business trips that always seemed to come up at the last minute. I became an expert in single parenting while married, in making excuses to the kids about why daddy missed the school play, the baseball game, the parent-teacher conference. But I never complained, because that's what good wives did, right? They supported their husbands' careers. They sacrificed. They made it work. And Mark was providing so well. We'd moved to this beautiful house in Marietta. The kids went to good schools. We took nice vacations, when Mark could make it. We looked perfect on Christmas cards. Looking back now, I can see all the signs I ignored. The late-night texts he took in the bathroom, the new cologne that appeared on his dresser, the way he started going to the gym 5 days a week at 45, suddenly concerned with his appearance in a way he hadn't been in years. The credit card statements I didn't examine too closely because I trusted him, because good wives trusted their husbands. I gave him everything. My dreams, my ambitions, my youth, my body, my trust. I reorganized my entire life around his needs, his schedule, his success. I became smaller and smaller so he could become bigger and bigger. And now I was 51 years old, sitting in a house that suddenly felt like a museum of my own foolishness, wondering who I even was without him. 3 days after Mark moved out, Emma came home from Savannah. She walked through the door, took one look at my face, and burst into tears. "Mom," she said, and I held her the way I'd held Jake, both my children crying for the family we used to be. "Did you know?" I asked her quietly, and I hated myself for asking, hated that I was putting this burden on my daughter. She shook her head violently. No, Mom, I swear. Jake called me. I drove straight through. Mom, I'm so sorry." We sat together on the couch, the 3 of us, and And I thought about how we used to pile on this couch for movie nights, Mark making popcorn, the four of us squeezed together under blankets. That family was gone. It had probably been gone for years, but I'd been too busy maintaining the illusion to notice it dying. On day 5, Patricia called, not to offer support, not to apologize for her son, but to lecture me. "Sarah, I heard about your situation with Mark," she said in that clipped Connecticut accent. "I want you to know that I think you're handling this very poorly." I almost laughed. "Excuse me?" Making him leave the house was dramatic and unnecessary. Men have indiscretions. It's unfortunate, but it happens. The dignified thing to do is to work through it privately, not to create a spectacle. A spectacle. Patricia, he has another woman pregnant. He's been living a double life for months, maybe longer. Yes, well, that's unfortunate. But Sarah, you have to think practically. Mark provides very well for you. You have a comfortable life. Do you really want to throw that away over hurt feelings? Hurt feelings. 23 years of marriage reduced to hurt feelings. I'm 51 years old, she continued. Do you really think you'll find someone better at your age? You should consider reconciliation. Make yourself more attractive to him. Perhaps lose some weight. Update your wardrobe. Men Mark's age want to feel desired, Sarah. When did you last make him feel desired? The words hit like acid. Make myself more attractive. As if his betrayal was my fault. As if I hadn't spent 23 years molding myself into whatever he needed. As if I was the failure. I have to go, I said, my voice shaking. Don't be dramatic, Sarah. I'm trying to help you. Think about your children. Think about your future. Pride is expensive, dear. Very expensive. I hung up and immediately called Mark. You told your mother? She called me. I didn't know what to say. She just told me I should lose weight and reconcile with you. She said it's my fault for not making you feel desired. Silence. Then, Sarah. She's from a different generation. She doesn't understand. Do you think it's my fault, Mark? More silence. And that silence told me everything. I never said that, he finally replied. But he didn't deny it either. The next humiliation came from a more unexpected source. My principal, Dr. Harrison, called me into his office 2 weeks after Mark left. I'd been keeping it together at school, teaching my classes, grading papers, maintaining professionalism, despite the fact that I was barely sleeping, barely eating, barely functioning. Mrs. Mitchell, he said carefully, gesturing for me to sit. I wanted to check in with you. I've heard, well, there's been some talk. Talk? My stomach dropped. About your personal situation. I want you to know that we support you, but I'm concerned about how this might affect your students and your classroom management. My classroom management is fine, I said, my jaw tight. Of course, but I think it might be wise for you to take a leave of absence, just until things settle down. We can get a substitute. Are you firing me? No, not at all. Just suggesting a break. This is a difficult time and you need to focus on your family. My family is why I need to keep working, I interrupted. Mark and I are divorcing. I need my job. I need my income. I need my health insurance. I need the stability. Dr. Harrison looked uncomfortable. I understand, but Sarah, you have to understand my position too. We've had parents calling. Mark Mitchell is very well known in this community. His situation is becoming public, and some parents are concerned about their children being taught by someone who's going through such a messy? I stood up. What's messy is a man abandoning his family for a younger woman. What's messy is a 51-year-old woman being told she's the problem because she won't quietly accept betrayal. What's messy, Dr. Harrison, is that you're punishing me for being the victim. That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? That I should disappear? That I should make myself invisible so Mark doesn't look bad? That I should protect his reputation while my life falls apart? Sarah, please sit down. Let's discuss this rationally. But I was done being rational. I was done being quiet. I was done making myself smaller so men could be more comfortable. I walked out of his office, taught my afternoon classes with a bright smile and steady voice, and that night I sat at my kitchen table and cried until I had no tears left, because I realized that it wasn't just Mark who'd betrayed me. It was the whole system, the society that told women to be accommodating, to be understanding, to preserve the peace at the cost of their dignity. I'd played by all the rules. I'd been the good wife, the good mother, the good employee. And where had it gotten me? Alone. blamed, disposable. I stopped crying after that night, not because the pain went away, but because something shifted inside me. I was sitting at the kitchen table at 3 a.m., unable to sleep again, when I caught my reflection in the dark window. I looked like a ghost, pale, hollow-eyed, defeated, and I thought, I don't recognize this woman. Who was I before Mark? Before marriage? Before children? Before I learned to shrink myself to fit into someone else's life? I'd been a girl from Savannah who loved Sylvia Plath and wanted to change the world through literature. I'd been fearless enough to apply to graduate school, brave enough to fall in love, strong enough to survive my mother's death from cancer when I was 30. When had I lost that woman? When had I decided that being loved was more important than loving myself? I opened my laptop and started searching. Divorce lawyers in Georgia. What happens to assets in a divorce? How to protect yourself financially during separation. I read until the sun came up, absorbing information, like I was preparing for the most important exam of my life. Because I was. I called my best friend Lauren at 7 a.m. We'd known each other since college, before Mark, before everything. She'd been skeptical of him from the beginning, though she'd never said it outright. He's very polished, she'd said at our wedding, and I'd taken it as a compliment. Now I understood it was a warning. I need help, I told her when she answered, her voice thick with sleep. I need to figure out what Mark has been hiding. She was at my house within an hour with coffee and a laptop. Lauren was a CPA, brilliant with numbers, ruthless with details. Show me everything, she said. Bank statements, credit cards, investment accounts, tax returns, all of it. We spent the entire day going through files. I'd always left the finances to Mark. He was better with money, he said. He had a system, he said. I should just focus on my teaching and the kids, he said. And I'd believed him because that's what good wives did. But good wives get screwed in divorce court. Sarah, Lauren said around 3 p.m., her voice tight. Did you know about this investment account? What investment account? She turned her laptop toward me. It was an account in Mark's name only, opened 3 years ago, with a balance of $387,000. This isn't the retirement account you know about. This is something else. And look at the deposits. They're consistent, monthly, sizable, like he's been siphoning money from your joint accounts. My hands went cold. That's not possible. I would have noticed. Would you? Sarah, when's the last time you actually looked at your bank statements? Really looked. She was right. I'd been so focused on managing the household budget, groceries, utilities, Jake's college fund, that I'd trusted Mark with the big picture. He made the money, he managed it. That was the deal. Except there were deals within deals I'd never known about. We found more. A second credit card in his name with $43,000 in charges, restaurants I'd never been to, jewelry I'd never received, a weekend in Charleston, our honeymoon city, from 2 years ago that he'd told me was a business trip, receipts from a furniture store in Lexington, baby items, a crib, a glider chair. He'd been building a home with her while living in a home with me. You need a lawyer, Lauren said. Not just any lawyer, the best divorce attorney in Atlanta, someone who'll rip him apart. I can't afford. Yes, you can. Use the joint account. It's your money too, Sarah. Use it before he empties it. That night I called Emma and Jake and told them I was going to fight. Not for revenge, I explained. Not out of anger, but for dignity, for what I was owed, for the 23 years I'd given to a man who'd thrown them away. I'm proud of you, Mom, Emma said, her voice fierce. Destroy him. But Jake was quiet. Dad called me, he finally said. He says you're being vindictive. He says he's trying to work things out, but you won't let him. Jake, I know he's lying, Mom. I know, but he's still my dad. And I don't know how to hate him even though I want to. My heart broke for my son, caught in the middle of his parents' war. You don't have to hate him, I said gently. He's your father. You can love him and be angry at him at the same time. You can love him and know he was wrong. Those things can exist together. I just want my family back, Jake whispered, and he sounded 5 years old again. I know, baby. I know. But our family was gone. The question now was, what would I build from the ashes? I hired Diane Zimmerman 3 days later, a shark in Chanel suits, known for destroying unfaithful husbands in Atlanta divorce courts. She took one look at my evidence and smiled. Oh, we're going to have fun with this, she said. How much do you want? Everything he tried to hide, I replied. Everything he thought I wouldn't find. Good. I like you. You're learning. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to my storage closet and pulled out the box marked Sarah's Things. The box I'd packed away when we moved to this house. The box I'd meant to unpack, but never did, because there was always something more important. Always someone else's needs to prioritize. Inside was my thesis from graduate school, my favorite books of poetry, photos from college, journal entries from when I was 24 and believed I could change the world. I read my own words, written in passionate, looping handwriting. I will not be diminished. I will not make myself small for anyone's comfort. I will speak my truth even when my voice shakes. I'd forgotten that version of myself, the one who had fire, the one who had dreams beyond being someone's wife, someone's mother. It was time to remember her. The call came from my father-in-law. Harold never called me directly. Everything went through Patricia or Mark. So when I saw his name on my phone, I knew something had shifted. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said, his voice grave. "Can you meet me for lunch tomorrow?" Alone. We met at a quiet restaurant in Buckhead, the kind of place where old money discussed business over oysters and martinis. Harold looked older than I remembered, his shoulders slightly stooped, his face drawn. He ordered scotch before noon, which wasn't like him. "I'm going to tell you something that will hurt Mark," he said without preamble, "but it's something you need to know before you sign anything or agree to any settlement." He slid a folder across the table. Inside were documents, trust documents, inheritance papers, property deeds. I scanned them, confused, until I saw my name. My name, listed as beneficiary on several accounts. My name, on the deed to a property in Charleston I didn't know existed. "I don't understand," I said. "When you and Mark married, I set up a trust for you," Harold explained. "Patricia was furious. She didn't think you were worthy of Wellesley Mitchell money. But I liked you, Sarah. You were genuine. You loved my son, not his bank account. So I created a safety net for you without telling anyone. Not even Mark." "Why are you telling me this now?" Harold's jaw tightened. "Because my son is a fool and a liar, and I won't let him destroy you the way he's destroyed himself. That trust has grown to $2.3 million over the past 23 years. The Charleston property, the townhouse on Church Street, is worth another $800,000. It's all yours. Mark doesn't know it exists. The room spun. $3 million. Property I didn't know I owned." I stared at Harold, this man who'd always seemed cold and distant, who'd stood by while his wife criticized me for decades. "Why would you do this?" "Because I knew my son," he said quietly. "I knew he was weak. I knew that eventually he'd do something stupid. Men in our family always do. My father had a mistress for 20 years. Well, that's not important. What's important is that I wanted you protected. You gave up everything for Mark. Your education, your dreams, your independence. The least I could do was ensure you'd be okay if he failed you." Tears burned my eyes. "Patricia doesn't know, and she won't. This is between you and me. But Sarah, there's more." He leaned forward. "I've been looking into Mark's finances. The money he's been siphoning, some of it came from the firm. He's been embezzling, small amounts but consistently. Enough that if the partners found out, he'd be fired and possibly face criminal charges. What? He's been desperate. Living two lives is expensive. The Lexington house, Ashley's expenses, the baby on the way. He's drowning in debt that he's hidden from everyone, and he's been stealing to keep his house of cards from collapsing." I sat back, processing. Mark, the golden boy, the successful partner, the man who always looked so polished and in control, was actually a thief, a desperate, drowning thief. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked again. "Because you have leverage," Harold said bluntly. "More than you realize. You have the trust. You have proof of his embezzlement. I'm giving you copies of the documents I found. You have evidence of his hidden accounts. If he tries to screw you in the divorce, you can destroy him. Professionally, legally, completely. I don't want to destroy him. I just want what's fair." "Fair?" Harold's laugh was bitter. "Sarah, he's been planning to leave you with as little as possible. He's been talking to Patricia about how to minimize his alimony payments, how to claim the house should be his since he paid the mortgage. He's going to argue that you have a stable job and don't need support. Do you understand? He's not trying to be fair. He's trying to abandon you with the minimum legal requirement. The betrayal hit deeper than I expected. I'd thought, stupidly, naively, that even if our marriage was over, Mark would at least be decent about the divorce. That he'd acknowledge what I'd given up, what I'd sacrificed. But he was just trying to figure out how to discard me as cheaply as possible. "Here's what you're going to do," Harold said, his voice taking on the commanding tone I'd heard him use in boardrooms. "You're going to tell your lawyer about the trust. You're going to use the embezzlement evidence as leverage. Not to report him, not yet, but to ensure he gives you everything you're entitled to in the divorce. Half the retirement accounts, half the value of the house, alimony, and your share of his partnership. You're going to take what's yours, Sarah. All of it. What about Ashley? The baby? Not your problem. Mark made his choices. Let him figure out how to support his new family on what's left after you take what you're owed. Maybe it'll teach him something about consequences." I looked at the documents spread across the table. Evidence of money I didn't know I had. Crimes I didn't know my husband had committed. A safety net I didn't know had been built beneath me all these years. And I thought about the woman I'd been 3 weeks ago. The woman who would have felt guilty for taking too much. Who would have tried to make it easy for Mark, because that's what good women did. But that woman was gone. "Thank you, Harold," I said, gathering the papers. "For protecting me. For believing I was worth protecting. You were always worth it," he said. And for the first time in 23 years, I believed him. That night, I called Diane and told her everything. "Holy hell," she said when I finished. "Sarah, we're not just going to win. We're going to obliterate him. We're going to take everything and leave him in ashes. I don't want revenge," I said, and I meant it. "I just want what's mine, what I earned." "Good," Diane replied, "because what's yours is substantial, and by the time I'm done, Mark Mitchell is going to regret the day he underestimated you." The divorce petition was filed on a Monday morning. Diane had it delivered to Mark's office by courier at 10 a.m., right when she knew he'd be in a partners meeting. "Maximum impact," she said. "Maximum embarrassment." He called me 37 times that afternoon. I didn't answer. He showed up at the house at 6 p.m., pounding on the door while Jake was upstairs doing homework. I watched him through the window. This man I'd loved for 23 years. This stranger who thought he could manipulate me forever. I opened the door, but kept the chain lock on. "Sarah, what the hell is this?" He waved the petition. "You're asking for 70% of my partnership interest? Permanent alimony? This is insane. It's what I'm owed." "You're not owed. We can work this out between us. We don't need lawyers bleeding us dry. Just drop this ridiculous petition and let's talk like adults. Like we talked when you moved in with Ashley? Like we talked when you told our son to lie for you? Like we talked when you convinced him I knew about your affair? You did, Mark. You put our child in the middle of your lies. And now you're going to pay for it. Literally." His face reddened. "I'm not giving you 70% of anything. You want a divorce? Fine. You'll get the legally mandated minimum and not a penny more. I've talked to my lawyer. I'm sure you have. Did you tell your lawyer about the $387,000 you've been hiding? Or the money you've embezzled from Henderson and Associates?" The color drained from his face. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. And I have proof. So here's how this is going to work. You're going to give me what I'm asking for in the divorce, or I'm going to give my evidence to your partners, and to the police, and to every client you've ever worked with. I'll destroy your career, your reputation, everything you've built. You wouldn't try me." We stared at each other through the gap in the door, and I saw the moment he realized I meant it. That the woman he'd married, the one who never made waves, who always accommodated, who always forgave, she was gone. "Where did you become this person?" he asked, and he sounded genuinely confused. "I've always been this person," I replied. "You just never bothered to look." I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart racing. Through the wood, I could hear him standing there, breathing heavily, probably trying to figure out his next move. Finally, his footsteps retreated, his car started, and he was gone. Jake came downstairs. "Was that Dad?" "Yeah. Are you okay?" I looked at my son, this beautiful young man who'd been forced to grow up too fast. "I'm better than okay," I said. "I'm fighting back." Over the next 2 weeks, I transformed. I hired a financial advisor who helped me understand exactly what I was entitled to. I documented everything, every sacrifice I'd made, Every career opportunity I'd turned down. Every time I'd put Mark's needs before my own. I built a case not just for money, but for justice. I also did something I hadn't done in years. I went shopping. Not at the discount stores where I usually bought my teacher clothes, but at the boutiques in Buckhead where Patricia shopped. I bought a suit, a real power suit in charcoal gray with perfect tailoring. I bought heels that made me feel tall. I got my hair cut and highlighted by a stylist who charged more than I used to spend in 3 months. When Lauren saw me, she whistled. "Look at you. New armor," I said. "If I'm going into battle, I'm going to look the part." I also started seeing a therapist, Dr. Chen, who specialized in divorce recovery. "I spent 23 years making myself smaller," I told her in our first session. "I need to remember how to take up space." "Why did you make yourself small?" she asked. "Because I thought that's what love required. Sacrifice, accommodation, putting someone else first. And now I know that's not love. That's erasure." Dr. Chen helped me see patterns I'd never noticed. How I'd apologized for things that weren't my fault. How I'd absorbed Mark's stress and made it my responsibility to manage. How I'd turned myself into a support system for everyone else while neglecting my own needs. "Who are you, Sarah?" she asked one day. "Not as a wife, not as a mother, not as a teacher, just you." I couldn't answer. I realized I didn't know. So I started figuring it out. I joined a book club, something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for. I started writing again. Poetry at first. Terrible and raw and honest. I signed up for a yoga class. I had coffee with old friends I'd lost touch with because Mark didn't like them, or because I was too busy managing his life. I discovered I liked being alone. I'd always thought I needed someone, that being single at 51 would feel like failure, but it didn't. It felt like freedom. Mark, meanwhile, was unraveling. According to Harold, who'd become an unlikely ally, Mark had been put on administrative leave at the firm pending an internal investigation. Ashley had moved back in with her parents after a fight about money. The Lexington house was in foreclosure. His perfect other life was collapsing just as spectacularly as ours had. "Do you feel bad for him?" Lauren asked when I told her. "No," I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. "I feel bad for Ashley. I feel bad for the baby who's going to be born into this mess. But Mark, he made every single one of these choices. He gets to live with the consequences. That's very evolved of you. Or very tired. I spent 23 years caring about Mark's feelings. I don't have the energy anymore." The truth was, I was done carrying him, done making excuses for him, done protecting him from himself. He was a grown man who'd made choices, and now he could deal with the fallout alone. I had my own life to rebuild. The mediation was scheduled for a Wednesday in downtown Atlanta, in a sterile conference room with fluorescent lights and a view of the interstate. Mark arrived with his lawyer, Stephen Chen, no relation to my therapist, a bulldog attorney known for grinding down opponents. I arrived with Diane, Harold's folder of evidence, and 23 years of contained rage. Mark looked terrible. He'd lost weight. His suit hung loose on his frame, and there were dark circles under his eyes. For a moment, just a moment, I felt something like pity. Then I remembered Jake crying in my arms at midnight, and the feeling passed. "Let's begin," the mediator said, a tired-looking woman named Barbara, who'd probably seen 1,000 divorces just like this one. "Mr. Chen, would you like to present your client's offer?" Stephen slid papers across the table. "Mr. Mitchell is prepared to offer Mrs. Mitchell a one-time settlement of $200,000 and the house, which has $150,000 in equity. He'll maintain his retirement accounts and partnership interest. No alimony. This is a generous offer considering." "Considering what?" Diane interrupted. "Considering he committed adultery? Considering he embezzled from his firm? Considering he manipulated his own child into lying? Please, finish that sentence." Stephen's jaw tightened. "My client disputes the embezzlement allegations." Diane opened her briefcase and pulled out Harold's documents, sliding them across the table. "Here's the proof. Bank transfers, forged signatures, falsified expense reports. I have copies for the firm's partners, the police, and the Georgia State Bar. Would you like to see how generous your client feels after I distribute these?" Mark's face went white. "Those are private documents. How did you—" "Doesn't matter how I got them," Diane said pleasantly. "Matters that I have them. So let's try this again. My client is asking for 50% of all marital assets, including the partnership interest. She's asking for permanent alimony of $8,000 per month. $8,000? Mark exploded. That's outrageous. She has her own income. She gave up a graduate degree to raise your children. Diane cut in. She sacrificed her career advancement for yours. She's entitled to maintain the lifestyle you provided during the marriage. $8,000 is more than reasonable. I can't afford that, and support Ashley and the baby. Then you shouldn't have had them, Diane said coldly. The mediator intervened. Let's all take a breath. Mrs. Mitchell, is there anything you'd like to say? I'd been quiet up to this point, letting Diane do the talking. But now I looked directly at Mark, really looked at him, and I spoke. Do you remember our wedding vows? I asked quietly. You promised to love and cherish me, to honor me, in sickness and health, for better or worse. Do you remember? Sarah, I kept those vows, every single day for 23 years. When your mother told me I wasn't good enough, I tried harder. When you worked late nights, I raised our children alone. When you forgot my birthday, our anniversary, every meaningful moment because you were too busy with work, I forgave you. I forgave everything because I believed in us. I know I hurt you. You didn't just hurt me, Mark. You erased me. You made me feel like I didn't matter, like I was just infrastructure, someone to keep your life running smoothly while you went out and found someone more exciting, someone younger, someone who made you feel alive. His eyes filled with tears. I never meant to make you feel that way, but you did. And now you want to walk away from everything we built together with minimum consequences. You want to pay me as little as possible so you can start over with Ashley without my existence being too inconvenient. Well, I'm not going to let you. What do you want, Sarah? Tell me what you want, and we can work it out. I want what I earned. I want half of everything, including the retirement accounts you tried to hide. I want alimony that reflects the life I gave up for you. I want the house, and I want you to acknowledge what you did, not just to me, but to our children. I want you to tell Jake that you were wrong, that he never should have been put in the position of lying for you. I want you to be honest, just once. The room was silent. Mark was crying now, not bothering to hide it. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know how I became this person. I know what happened, I said. You got bored. You got scared of getting older. You wanted to feel young again. And instead of talking to me, instead of working on our marriage, you threw it away for a fantasy. It wasn't a fantasy. Yes, it was. Because real relationships require work. They require showing up even when it's hard. They require choosing your partner every single day, not just when they're convenient. Ashley is young and exciting now, but eventually she'll age too. She'll have needs. She'll get tired. And what will you do then? Find someone even younger? Mark covered his face with his hands. Stephen tried to intervene, but Diane held up a hand. This was between Mark and me now. This was the conversation we should have had months ago. I loved you, I said, and my voice broke on the words. I loved you so much that I lost myself. I became whoever you needed me to be. The perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect support system. But I was never enough, was I? That's not true. It is true. Because if I had been enough, you wouldn't have needed someone else. Sarah, please. I'm done pleading, Mark. I'm done making myself small so you can feel big. I'm done apologizing for existing. You're going to give me what I'm asking for, or I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man you really are. Your choice. He looked at Stephen, who nodded grimly. We need to talk, Stephen said. Can we have a moment? They left the room. Diane squeezed my hand. You okay? Yeah, I said, and I realized I meant it. I'm okay. When they came back, Stephen said, We accept your terms. Mr. Mitchell will agree to the 50% split, the alimony payments, and Mrs. Mitchell keeps the house. In exchange, Mrs. Mitchell will not pursue criminal charges or inform the firm's partners about the financial irregularities. Deal, Diane said. The divorce was finalized on a Friday in October, 6 months after Jake's tearful phone call changed everything. I stood in the courthouse in downtown Marietta, signed the final papers, and walked out into the autumn sunshine, a single woman for the first time in 24 years. Emma and Jake were waiting for me on the courthouse steps. Jake had taken the day off from school. Emma had driven up from Savannah. They both hugged me, and we stood there together, the three of us, and I felt something shift. We weren't broken. We were different. reconfigured, but we were whole in our own way. "How does it feel?" Emma asked. "Lighter," I said, "like I can breathe again." We went to lunch at a little cafe I'd always wanted to try but never had because Mark didn't like that kind of food. I ordered what I wanted. I laughed with my children. I didn't check my phone every 5 minutes to see if anyone needed anything from me. The settlement had been finalized the week before. I got the house, half of Mark's retirement accounts, half the value of his partnership interest, and $8,000 a month in alimony for the next 10 years. Combined with Harold's trust, which I still couldn't quite believe existed, I was financially secure for the first time in my life, not because of a husband, but because I'd fought for what I deserved. I also got something more valuable, my self-respect. Mark had moved in with Ashley after she took him back, though according to Emma, who heard it from Jake, who heard it from Mark, things weren't going well. The baby had been born, a girl they named Madison. Mark was working at a smaller firm for half his previous salary. He was in debt. He was struggling. And I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity, not anger. Just nothing. He was no longer my concern. Dr. Chen said that was healthy. "You're detaching," she explained. "You're recognizing that his life is his to manage, not yours to fix. That's growth." I'd been seeing her twice a week, untangling 23 years of codependency and self-erasure. It was hard work, harder than I'd expected. I cried a lot. I got angry at myself for not leaving sooner, for ignoring red flags, for making myself so small. "You did what you thought you needed to do to survive," Dr. Chen reminded me. "You can't judge your past self by your current understanding. You were doing your best with the tools you had." I started making plans. Real plans, for me. I applied for a master's program in English literature at Georgia State, part-time, online. I could do the coursework in the evenings after teaching. I'd finished my degree, the one I'd abandoned when Emma was born. Not because I needed it for my career, but because I wanted it for myself. I also started dating. Not seriously. Just coffee here and there with men I met through friends or online. It was strange at first. Terrifying even. I hadn't been on a date since I was 24, but it was also liberating. I could be myself. My whole self. Not the edited version I'd become for Mark. Some dates were terrible. Some were pleasant. One, David, a widower who taught history at a nearby college, became a good friend. We had coffee every other week and talked about books and our kids and what it meant to start over in your 50s. "I'm not looking for someone to complete me," I told him one afternoon. "I'm already complete." He smiled. "That's the best place to start from." I also reconnected with parts of myself I'd forgotten. I joined a community theater group and auditioned for a small role in our town. I didn't get it, but I didn't care. The audition itself was the victory, the act of putting myself out there, of trying something scary. I went to poetry readings. I traveled to Charleston and spent a weekend in the townhouse Harold had left me, walking the same streets Mark and I had walked on our honeymoon. But this time, I was alone, and it was better. I could stop when I wanted, eat where I wanted, spend hours in bookstores without someone sighing impatiently. I learned to be alone without being lonely. Jake thrived. He got into Georgia Tech with a full scholarship. Emma got promoted at the gallery. They both told me they were proud of me, which made me cry every time. "You taught us something important, Mom," Emma said one night over dinner. "You taught us that it's never too late to choose yourself, that you can love someone and still walk away if they don't treat you right. That's a lesson a lot of people never learn." On the 1-year anniversary of Jake's phone call, I did something I'd been planning for months. I drove to Savannah, to my mother's grave, and I sat beside her headstone in the cemetery overlooking the marsh. "I miss you," I said out loud. "I wish you were here. You'd probably say, 'I told you so about Mark.' You never quite trusted him, did you? You were too polite to say it, but I saw it in your eyes at the wedding." I told her everything that had happened. The betrayal, the divorce, the fight, the victory. I told her about Harold's trust, about going back to school, about learning to take up space in the world. "You raised me to be strong," I said, but somewhere along the way I forgot. I thought being loved meant making myself small, but you never did that. Even when money was tight, even when life was hard, you never diminished yourself for anyone. A breeze moved through the Spanish moss hanging from the live oaks. It felt like an answer. I left flowers on her grave, yellow roses, her favorite, and drove back to Marietta as the sun set over the Georgia pines. When I got home, the house was quiet. My house now. I'd redecorated Emma's old room as an office for my graduate work. I'd painted the living room a color I liked. I'd made this space mine. I sat on the porch swing as darkness fell, listening to the cicadas and the distant sound of children playing down the street. I thought about the woman I'd been a year ago, broken, devastated, lost, and I thought about the woman I was now, stronger, clearer, free. I'd survived. More than that, I'd transformed. My phone buzzed with a text from Lauren. "Wine night tomorrow? I want to hear about your date with the librarian." I smiled and typed back. "Absolutely. My place. 7 p.m. I had plans. I had friends. I had dreams again. I had myself. And for the first time in 23 years, that was enough.